my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. Apologies in advance for this substandard lighting. It is an exceptionally gloomy day today, so we're working with what we've got. Today I'll be featuring my favorite plants this June. Let us waste no time. Okay, all right, this is, oh no. I just dripped a lot of water on myself. Gosh, and I'm going on a date immediately after this. It's fine. It'll dry, right? This is my Alocasia dragon scale. And this plant has been doing so well. Maybe like a month and a half ago or something like that, I potted her up in this beautiful, gorgeous, self-watering pot. So it's terracotta and the bottom portion has water, but I like just watered it today and it's like leaking a little bit. And so it is continuing to drip on me as we speak. But oh my goodness, this Alocasia absolutely adores this self-watering setup. I might just have to put all of my, oh no, oh, I'm dripping so much. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely ridiculous. That's fine, it's fine. I'm just gonna be mildly damp, yet I'm continuing to hold her up. But I just really want you guys to get a good look at her. So that's like the newest leaf right there. And just in general, she's so beautiful and she has more new growth happening down there. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, I'm gonna put her down now because I don't want plant pee all over me, you know? What was I saying? Oh yes, I think I might have to put all of my Alocasia in a self-watering pot setup because they just really seem to like it. They like to have soil that's chunky, but they also like to be moist. Like they like to breathe, but they don't like to dry out nearly as much as other aeroids. At least that's kind of what it seems like, because if I let an Alocasia dry out, oh goodness, they are not very forgiving. They tend to drop leaves and, you know, have a one leaf in, one leaf out situation in my experience, like if I don't water mine super consistently. So having a self-watering pot is a lifesaver. I was gone for like 10 days out of this month and I was really concerned about some of my plants, just that they would dry out, and there were a few casualties. It makes me sad, but it's fine. Let's just say a plant or two may or may not have gotten knocked over while I was gone. Anyways, this Alocasia dragon scale did really well while I was gone. Like, she put out lots of new growth and all of that, and I attribute that to the self-watering pot because she had plenty of water in that reservoir to hold her over for those 10 days, and she was very happy. I mean, I guess my favorite is both the plant and the pot that it's in. So the Alocasia dragon scale, super beautiful. I mean, I feel like I didn't get a chance to talk about how gorgeous this plant is enough. Like all the venation. I was not always like an Alocasia girly, much less Alocasia dragon scale girly, but I see the appeal now that I own one. And I love how like thick the leaves are too. It's a beautiful plant. Speaking of both plants and pots that I'm really liking, this is the philodendron brandtianum, and I never really thought that I would feature this plant on a favorites list like ever. I'm not featuring her because she's doing well, because if you look at her, admittedly she is a little bit scraggly. Like the new leaves that are coming in are tiny. And she's not thriving by any means. Like, no. She's continuing to have the same problems that she's always had. But when I see this plant on the wall, it's very pleasing to me for some reason. Like, this is my favorite iteration of this plant that I've ever had. Because I used to have it climbing up a pole and it just looked ridiculous and unhappy. But for some reason, something about this is like gangly and awkward, but also sculptural. I've been loving the way that it looks. And the pot as well has some beautiful, just gorgeous patina going on. You know, that like white stuff and the buildup. The pot in and of itself looks very beautiful. So I'd say it's the combination, like they complement each other, and that they both look a little bit aged, a little bit scraggly, but there's something very satisfying about it to me. It has character. That's what I'm trying to get at. It just has a lot of character, and all month long, it's really been catching my eye. I think it's so cool. And there are a few leaves, just a handful of leaves that are very, very beautiful. I mean, I'll give it that. Brandtianum, when the leaves are beautiful, they're stunning. When they're not, they are not. But, you know, it's kind of the mixture that's going on. Something about it is really appealing to me. Just the way that the leaves are oriented. I don't know. You'll have to let me know if you see it or if I'm crazy. The next plant on my favorites list is this Sansevieria sayuri, I believe is how you pronounce it. I very badly need to get this plant repotted, but I got this honestly like pretty recently. I would say in the last 2 months or so, and it's really truly busting out of the pot. Like if I just wrap my hands around this plastic pot, I can just feel, if you know what I mean. I mean, have you ever had a snake plant that's just like busting out of the pot? But that's what's happening here. So yes, I do really badly need to repot this plant, but that aside, this plant has been giving me so much new growth, like a shocking amount of new growth considering it's a snake plant. Although, to be fair, I have actually been giving this plant like a fair amount of light. I haven't 100% settled on where this plant is going to live permanently. I've kind of been moving it around. Everywhere I've put it, it's had a fair amount of light. So it has this new leaf, and here's some more like new growth right here. It's absolutely beautiful, and new growth right here. So generally speaking, oh, and more new growth right here. So generally speaking, snake plants tend to be a little bit boring, but this one has been doing a lot. And as far as snake plants go, this is definitely like my favorite snake plant that I've ever had. I don't know if the camera will pick up the subtleties of the leaves, but you know, there's like this really subtle and beautiful variegation to the leaves. And I just really admire it, and it's been growing super well for me. So all those things together, I'm really, really happy with this plant, and I'm excited to see what it looks like once I get it potted up. Over time, I mean, snake plants can get pretty massive, so this might end up being kind of a very sculptural piece in my home as well. So I'm excited for what the future holds because he's doing really, really well. This right here is a philodendron hederaceum, or just a heartleaf philodendron. This girly has grown so beautifully. For a really long time, I had this plant in a very dark corner, and it still survived. It still put out quite a bit of growth, but as you can see, the growth that it put out then, you know, the leaves were really quite small. But since I moved it only like 3 months ago, maybe, it was sometime during the spring, I moved this plant into a situation that is maybe more medium light and sometimes gets pretty bright light on occasion. And this is how much it's grown since then, kind of like where my hand is. And the leaves, I don't know how well you can see that, but the leaves are much bigger now, just on account of getting more light. And here, let me just show you the full effect of this plant. I just love how it looks trailing down, and it's not sending out runners or anything like that. It's just beautiful and lush. And honestly, like once this gets long enough, I'm definitely gonna have to like pot more at the top of the pot and just make it even fuller. But as of right now, I'm just so pleased with how well this plant has been growing. When people ask me like what plant they should get if they're a beginner and they don't really know anything about plants, I often will suggest this plant, like the heartleaf philodendron, because it's just so forgiving, so easy. It's very vocal, so when it's thirsty, it droops just a little bit, and then you give it a drink of water and it bounces back with, I mean, very little leaf loss, relatively speaking. I mean, obviously it loses leaves occasionally, but it's not like some dramatic, like I was talking about alocasia earlier. Sometimes those lose lots of leaves, and because they have not as many leaves to begin with and they're like bigger leaves, it kind of stands out more. Whereas with this, I mean, if you lose a couple of leaves, it's really no big deal. Like you don't really notice. It's kind of one of those plants where you don't necessarily notice every single new leaf that's coming in like some other philodendron, but you kind of blink and then you notice how much it's grown and then you appreciate it and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is absolutely beautiful and so easy. And this is definitely one of those plants that can give your home massive jungle vibes, especially, I mean, you can have it trailing down like this, or you can also like mount it on your wall or have it climbing up a pole. Honestly, whatever you want to do. I would absolutely consider having this like climb along a wall or something like that, because I think that would be really, really beautiful. I already have a jade pothos that kind of does that, although it is in a very low light situation, so it doesn't grow very quickly. Hot take, I definitely prefer philodendron heteroecium over pothos. Sorry, I just do. I prefer the leaf shape. I prefer the growth pattern. I prefer, I don't know, something about it is more delicate and dainty to me and beautiful and lush, and I feel like it's actually a lot more easygoing than pothos are. But that's in my experience for some reason. Anyways, I've rambled long enough. Okay, the next plant on my favorites list is the philodendron mayoi. It is a plant that I did not expect to pick up, but I saw it at my local garden center. And I was this was the newest leaf that it had when I first got it, but of course it had like that new leaf sheen. The reason that it's on my favorites list might be rather obvious. It's kind of staring at you right in the face right there. But this is the only leaf so far that it's actually unfurled in my care. It's a somewhat slower grower. Crawlers tend to be that way, which, by the way, for some reason, this mayoi is definitely crawling. When I bought it, it was already crawling. So I was like, I mean, I guess we're just going with this. So I don't know if this is like a variant that crawls or if you could just grow it either way. But I just kind of went with the way that the plant was already going because it was clearly crawling or creeping along the pot when I bought it. And I think it's very happy with the arrangement. And the other thing of note before I get too carried away is that it has like red stems and like the back, look, do you see like that venation there? It's very red. So I think that this might also be just a variant of mayoi in general, maybe the Tahiti or something like that. It's definitely a mayoi, I think, but it doesn't look like your typical mayoi, so I do think it's some sort of cultivar. So yeah, this new leaf right here, I mean, do you see the size difference? Like right here, this was like the biggest leaf, the most developed leaf. And then it just went ahead and popped out this leaf right here, which is like, holy moly, super gorgeous. And it still has that beautiful like new leaf light green sheen to it. I mean, it's not quite a philodendron tortum, but it does give those philodendron tortum vibes in a lot of ways. It also somewhat resembles certain types of ferns that you find in Florida or different kinds of like thaumatophyllum. I don't know, it just has a very unique look. I'm really appreciating it. And also there is a new leaf on the way right here too. Okay, the next and final plant on my favorites list is the Anthurium podophyllum. And it also has a very like unique leaf shape. It kind of looks like it has fingers. And obviously this is an anthurium. So I've been venturing deeper and deeper into the world of anthurium and really, really loving it. So this is obviously like, this is like the most unique anthurium that I own by far. I believe all of the rest of my anthurium are pretty much like velvet-leaved anthurium. But this one has more of a matte texture to it. Not so much glossy, it's more so, it's matte. And then obviously this leaf shape is everything. It's really, really, really cool. Obviously this is like the most mature leaf that it has, but if you want to look at kind of what the older leaves look like, that's what that looks like. It kind of reminds me of a pterodactyl, which I know that there is also an anthurium pterodactyl, so not to be confused with that. But just, I mean, it looks like it has like this beak, and then even like Zapdos from Pokemon. Maybe I'm the only one that sees it. But yeah, I recently repotted it into this clear vessel with a super chunky mix, and it seems to be really liking it so far because it has a new leaf on the way. Look at how adorable that is, because you can kind of see whatever these are. The name for it is not coming to me because it's not like fenestrations, but you know what I mean, as it gets more mature, it just has this more funky leaf shape. And I can already tell that this newest leaf right here is going to be incredibly funky. Like, look at that. It's so fun. I just already know that it's going to be super satisfying to watch emerge and mature. Well, I think that's gonna be it for this video. So thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to. If you want more planty content from you, I'd love to see you around. And yeah, I hope that you guys have a wonderful and beautiful day. Bye-bye.